Not all children are born to excel in school or in sport. All are never born with creative abilities that amaze the world and cause an audience to give them a standing ovation. Yet everyone wants to be accepted in the community. Like in most parts of Africa, in Cameroon, children with disabilities such as Down syndrome face rejection in their communities and are quite often labeled as second-class citizens. Each year, approximately 3,000 to 5,000 children are born with this chromosome disorder worldwide. News that a family will be having a baby with a birth defect is saddening. Antonia B. still remembers how she was informed she will be having a child with Down syndrome.
I was told I was supposed to go for, it's my doctor at my second doctor's visit. This is 2 months. I have to go and do a chromosome test. But I didn't know, I was just like, this which test? I know I'm fine, these tests. So they just want to be doing their own things. So went for the results, we came back. On that day, we had a special rendezvous. This is not like out of his regular consultation room. He was telling me what trisomy 21 is. I remember his first words. The baby can be a secretary, they can never be an engineer, can be a nurse, or hardly become a medical doctor. So they are delayed, they are slow. The baby you are going to be having will be born with trisomy 21.
Medical experts are persistent in explaining what Down syndrome is.
This is a genetic disease due to a deficiency in one of our genes, the gene 21, which will have the deficiency and induce to the child who's just birth deficiency in the way we will observe the physical scape of the child and maybe including his mental and social presentation. Okay. The second thing is that it has a genetic disease. It's not something acquired, you see, and it's like a probability to have a child with Down syndrome. So immediately I would say it's not the responsibility of parents to have a child with Down syndrome. Child with Down syndrome depends on the percentage of affection on the gene. So there could be a light, severe, or moderate Down syndrome. And those with severe lesions will have more burden than those with light lesions.
However, many people unfortunately still relate the birth of a child with Down syndrome to witchcraft.
When I was told everything was born with Down syndrome, I immediately thought of the other children, what I'd seen happen to them in Cameroon. And now this another girl I've seen doing well. She was a beautiful girl with nice hair, well dressed in church. I was like, but when this was in Cameroon, nobody ever, they just thought there were some people that had to be taken to the streams. So I immediately thought, okay, I think I can use my situation to change the perception we have in our country about these people. There's this girl I met in Yaoundé. She had a boy living with Down syndrome. She was not breastfeeding the child because they had told her it was a snake and the snake would drain her to that it came to suck her blood. That's really a snake. So she said she was not breastfeeding the child. And there's this man who had asked for some rituals to be done for the child to be taken to the stream. So she was just waiting for the family to get the things together, and then so I now said no. I was with Enrique. She was like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Oh yes, this is him. Don't you see how they look alike?" And we've been communicating, and she has really changed.
The plight of parents of a child with Down syndrome could be enormous. When will my child walk, or when will he talk? You could be tempted to fall into the comparison trap if you have siblings or friends who had babies right around the same time you had yours.
Because of that picking, people then they don't give me some kind name them for that picking, and they give that picking some kind name them. So I be the feel bad as I way that we get that toxin where they give me. They be talk say that picking not be na picking. If I say me I go throw away that picking. If I say the kind picking then they even want for eliminate that picking. So as how they be the talk, so I not be bothered for how we be still there small and I continue for the carry.
It takes a courageous and loving mother to stand by her child with special needs. Adri Kingsnder was born with Down syndrome in 2011.
Dancing and singing. Were you dancing and singing in school? I saw you singing.
Unlike most other parents who prefer to hide their children living with such inherent disorders from the public, Antonia B., Adri King's mother, has opted for something different. There are a few institutions offering care to children with Down syndrome and seeking to improve their lives. An example is the Treasure Center in Bamenda that caters for children and adults with disabilities. The center is on the lookout for a safe, protected, and happy environment where children with disabilities, especially those with Down syndrome, can learn and develop socially, emotionally, and spiritually while acquiring skills and knowledge to function well in the society.
The Down syndrome, some of them can be extremely intelligent and they can manage, they can work outside, but we discovered all of ours here are intellectually low level. And some are a little bit better than others, but any of them could not cope in an ordinary primary school. Any of the older ones could not hold down a job where they could be independent completely. They would always needing support. Now, we felt we have bigger children that are Down syndrome, and we felt we had taken them as far as we could take the better ones in this centre. So they come here and the teachers discuss with them, these children we feel can benefit by your course in. So, but the ones that are still here are not suitable, like Sunita now. I'm giving an example of Sunita. Sunita is wonderful at practical work, cleaning, washing and all of that, wonderful. So we felt she was too advanced to be in the class with the other children. So we took her out and we have employed her here. And the mother comes every month and or whenever she can come, signs for her salary.
Dancer Soneta, 25, lives with Down syndrome. With her mother's support, she has been trained to be helpful to herself and to the community.
The camp, Joe the change. Then the wash his skin fine. Then begin do things the way, even so other picking the way they reason passy, they don't feel do it. Yes, I just thought Jesus, thank you. Thank you. Finally, he did it. 5 years. Then that sister called me and you know if he leave it. Now so where he don't get small sense. If he leave it, he come for town, for house, he go to overworker. You want for keep it for school, give you small job. I say no problem.
Don't pay them, good job. Yes, I do find it.
Non-governmental and faith-based organizations like the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services are becoming increasingly concerned with the plight of persons living with disabilities, including Down syndrome. This explains the creation of programs like EDID.
EDID actually is an acronym whose full meaning is Empowerment and Disability Inclusive Development Program. This is a program that actually empowers children and youth with disabilities from birth up to the age of 25 years so that they can become active agents of development in their communities, in their societies, and in the nation at large. And so thus the name Empowerment and Disability Inclusive Development. This name actually may be a little bit strange for people who have had interaction with the program for some time now in Cameroon, because this program actually started in Cameroon over 20 years ago, and it was simply referred to as the Liliana Foundation. The Liliana Foundation is actually an organization which is based in the Netherlands, and they are our funding partners. As you can see, we are in 8 regions of the 10 regions of Cameroon, except for the Adamawa and the South regions. We will still have children that we support in these 2 regions, even though we don't have direct partners that are there, because the EDIT program works with partner organizations. We are not direct implementers.
The EDIT program partners with other stakeholders like the Treasure Center in improving on the quality of life of children living with Down syndrome.
I began to investigate what could we do to help these children out of this centre so that they could become a little bit more self-supporting with help. So I approached the Callous Sanction sisters in Futuro, and they came and we asked, they have a centre for women that are not intellectually challenged, are learning skills like sewing and all of that. And I asked if they would include a section for our children, not just Down syndrome, but intellectually challenged children who could cope. So they go there and they make bags, Bamenda bags. You know the Bamenda gown, the marking, that lovely Bamenda gown, it's lovely. They do that, they train them for 2 years, then they employ them. They have a market in Marché de Fleur in Douala and in Spain.
Antonia believes every life is worth celebrating. That is why she created the Edry Kings Foundation in honor of her son. Through the foundation, Antonia is strongly advocating for other children like Edry Kings.
As a mother with a baby living with Down syndrome, and my peer or best friend having muscular dystrophy, it was to show people that these persons have a life and to tell them who they are, because a lot of people still don't think that they should even step out of the house. Most of them are still locked up in rooms. Some of the parents cannot even identify with children who have conditions like this. So first of all, it was to show out Edry Kings that I'm proud of him. I can take him everywhere. I can take him anywhere.
It is December. The Edry Kings Foundation has come out to celebrate Christmas with children living with Down syndrome. The forum creates an opportunity to advocate for children living with Down syndrome and to raise funds to support them and their families that find it difficult to make ends meet.
Just sparing your time this afternoon is something to children like Edry Kings and Peace Chonko. Give yourselves a hand. Children, I see them in Yaoundé everywhere, begging in the streets. Yes, young girls, some of you dump the children. Normal children. Normal. They don't have any fault to dump. So tomorrow, if you were given a Down syndrome child, what will you do? Will you dump him or her?
Time began. You knew me by name and you love me. Is gone, you'll still be the same. You will love me.
Children living with Down syndrome continue to face difficulties studying in mainstream schools. For Edry Kings, the challenge has been real.
We have teachers here who have been trained to assist children like this. For instance, those who cannot talk, the sign language teacher is there. We also have teachers who have done special needs education, and they can assist children who are like speech impairment, those who cannot talk, those who cannot walk. We have trained teachers.
However, some school authorities do not walk their talk. Edric Kings unfortunately was expelled from the same school that claims to be inclusive. They say other parents are uncomfortable with his presence around their children. He now spends lonely moments at home while other children are in school. The Cameroon government has not been silent about such discrimination.
Le Cameroun en 2010 a revu et voté une loi qui protège les personnes vivant avec un handicap. En fait, les promoteurs de ces institutions, à partir du moment où l'objectif, la raison d'être même de la création de leur structure veut que ce soit pour la protection des personnes socialement vulnérables, ils ont d'une façon tacite l'obligation de admettre toutes les personnes qui se présentent, que vous ayez vocation ou non. Tous les autres citoyens ont l'obligation de accompagner lorsque la nécessité s'impose. Sinon, vous pouvez être traduit devant les juridictions pour non-assistance à personnes en situation d'incapacité.
The civil society continues to speak out against the maltreatment of children living with Down syndrome, castigating those upholding confusing beliefs.
Generally, children with or persons with Down syndrome, they are just treated like other children with disabilities as, low class in the society.
We discovered a lot of children were not going to school. They used to follow us along the paths. Then we would arrive at schools and there'd be many of children outside looking in the windows. And I asked the teachers, why are these children not at school? And they said to me, they're fools and mumus. This is how they label them.
When Down syndrome occurs in a child, the tendency is to attribute causes, while some people seek for solutions in unusual places. Pressure from family members and friends is typically heavy on parents of such children.
The stories were going all around the quarter. People come and look. There are people who said, oh, they should go to this witch doctor. Every day somebody was telling the story. Go to this man. Even my mom did educating, and he had, the wall gecko. Educating had eaten like 4 wall geckos. Somebody told my mom to cook the wall gecko and give it to eat. That would change the situation.
Discovered that the children who are in the center here, before they opened these centers, some of them used to be locked up in some rooms in their homes. Some, they used to put them in chains.
I am still confirming that it's a probability to have a genetic disease on one of our genes that will induce this cape that looks like people from Mongolia. That's why they call them Mongolians. But that is a presentation where the child have difficulties in learning, in acquiring capacities, and maybe in getting introduced or integrated in the society. So it is something which is natural.
An unfounded view of Down syndrome creates an imaginary reality of despair and sadness, especially for those directly affected. However, children living with Down syndrome have hidden talents.
These children with Down syndrome, they have potentials. So it is just for us to identify the areas that they can be able to excel in, in doing one thing or the other. And then we develop those potentials so that they start seeing themselves. Because as I said earlier, empowerment is about making a child with Down syndrome, now in this case, to see him or herself as an important agent of change in the society, and for the society to also start seeing them in the same way. And that is why we provide, a little bit of financial assistance through our partner organizations to enable them send these children to schools so that they can be able to develop the potentials that are in them.
Well, we do basic training here, very basic training according to their level of ability. The Down syndrome, any of the ones that are here are on the low scale of intellectually challenged. And any of them that we feel can do better, we refer them to Futuro. But we've applied for funding to see can we set up proper workshops here to train them. But we have no funding to date. I've applied to a few places. And hopefully if we do get funding, then we'd have to get staff and equipment and train them at their level. They can never work alone. And we would love that we give them better training if we had funding for equipment and trained staff to do it. Take those boys there and that. But at the moment we haven't funding.
Most often people wonder if Down syndrome can be treated. There is a feeling that things will be different if children born with this genetic malformation are completely liberated from the condition.
Treatment is something that is or improve your life condition. When I said it can be treated, I was saying that the condition will never change genetically. But treatment is also all the conditions that we can offer physically, socially, and even psychologically to these children for a better quality of life. Having said this, there's enough we can offer to them. And we can offer to them enough in our country, not expect coming from abroad, because such burdens need to be taken care with respect with the socio-cultural specificities. It means that a child with Down syndrome will grow with more mental balance if he stays around his relatives instead of being sent away, what people would think of evacuating abroad, and a healer who's close to the culture will be more appropriate to offer good services to this child with Down syndrome than somebody who comes from Japan or from another country, from another culture. It is now a holistic package that we should offer to this. And we will see that sometimes people with Down syndrome could live better than those who haven't got the syndrome, provided the conditions are put together, respecting the peculiarity of their problem.
Every child living with Down syndrome needs society's unconditional love and acceptance. This will replace anxiety, sorrow, and anger with different emotions.
I keep telling them, accept us first. Because I have the belief that if you have any child and lock that child up, you don't give that child love, that child cannot grow up to be intelligent. So you have to accept the child, show her love as any other child.
The birth of a child with Down syndrome should therefore awaken hope instead of despair in the families and in the society.
But as regards getting subvention, which we need, because if these children were going to government, they'd be free. If they were going to a government school, they'd be free. We've tried everything. The social service lady make sure each child has a disability card. That means they're helped medically. They can go to a government school free. But the children here cannot cope in the educational system here. The numbers in the classes are too big. They need specialised teachers for these children in those classes as well. And that has not been set up here yet. But if they can pay them if they're in a government, why can they not help us with these children here?
Lorsque le promoteur d'une structure sociale, nous les appelons communément les œuvres sociales privées, qui peuvent être des institutions, qui peuvent être des associations, et toute autre entreprise qui s'est organisée et a entrepris d'apporter un accompagnement spécialisé ou non en faveur des personnes socialement vulnérables, notamment ceux victimes de la trisomie 21. Je dis qu'ils rentrent dans ces structures-là et ces structures-là, pendant leur exercice, bénéficient des subventions de l'État. Des dispositions sont prises pour que nous établissions, par exemple, des cartes nationales d'invalidité. Et nantis de ces cartes nationales d'invalidité, ils peuvent bénéficier, si c'est dans le système d'éducation publique, des mesures d'exemption des frais de scolarité et d'examen.
My dream is that I should see all children living with Down syndrome empowered in their respective areas of potentiality. I say this, and I'm a bit sad in my heart because even in Cameroon, we still don't have a lot of, resource centers, a lot of institutions where these children can be able to develop their potentials. And so when I'm talking like this, I'm also hoping, that people who have the power to do things, they can be able to do something. Our policy makers, we need institutions of learning where these children's potentials can be developed.
A child with Down syndrome is a child. They are sometimes marvelous and very seductive. A child with Down syndrome is the child of the parents. And as the artist said, be he green, yellow, or blue, a child is a child, and we have to take care of them, love them. And sometimes parents, I used to tell them, parents with children with Down syndrome are surprised of the way of affection that these children bring to the family. So a child is a child, and we have to offer his best service and affection than as he deserves.
You do not need to love Down syndrome to love your baby. Focus on the life, not on the label.
Shu fai wo shu vo wi tang rin tang rio.